For today is I'm gonna show you guys how to set up a PHP PP based message board or forum as a hidden service, as a Tor hidden service on the dark web. So before we do that, let's first talk a little bit about what is the dark web and what is the deep web and what is the surface web and why the dark web is not necessarily evil only or for illegal activity only, right? So if you look at this graphic for a little while, so you see the surface web. Surface web is everything that is indexed by, let's take Google as an example, right? Then below is the deep web. The deep web might contain all kinds of databases that are not usually publicly accessible, legal documents, reports, scientific reports, research studies, medical records, all kinds of things, right? And then even further down below, we would have the dark web. The dark web serves multiple purposes, actually, right? It's probably most known in the news for illegal stuff, like hosting sites that sell personal information that was stolen in all kinds of criminal activities, hacking sites, ransomware attacks, you name it, right? But it also helps people in countries where there's massive censorship. Uh, you name China, for example, right? Just name China for an example, or some some other countries such as North Korea, or there might also be countries that you wouldn't even think that it's needed. But another example would be Iran, for example, right? So it's being also used for private communications, if for people who do not want to get uh, exposed to their governments because they would put themselves at risks for maybe bringing to the attention of the general public things that are going on there that are against human rights and all kinds of things, right? So the dark web, Tor, hidden services, which is what we are talking about today, is not necessarily by itself something bad. There's many sites that you know from the clear web, like Facebook, BBC, um, the New York Times, that are also having a corresponding URL on the dark web, or in this case, they also operate a Tor hidden service .onion address, right? And I'm gonna show you a couple of those later on. So I've decided to go for setting up this hidden service. All you need to do is actually you need to have any virtual machine, any computer, any even Raspberry Pi or what you name it, you can use it as long as it has an internet connection and is able to install Tor, right? So for the example today, what we will do is I'm gonna do this using a VMware virtual machine. So I chose a Ubuntu server, the standard latest version 20.04, I think it is, and this is what we're gonna use. Basically, we will start by setting up a few prerequisites, right? So we are already connected here to my Linux VM that I set up earlier, right? So nothing to do anymore here. First thing first, we're gonna install basically Tor. So this is fairly simple, right? So you would do a sudo apt install Tor, put in your password, confirm that with yes, and it will install Tor, which takes a couple of seconds only. So just bear with me, and there we go. This should be it. There we go. So right now that's it. Tor is installed. We have to modify the Tor RC file. We're gonna do that by using again the sudo command, which is saying please to Linux etc Tor. Okay, sorry, vi. I'm gonna use vi for it. Tor and then Tor RC. As you can see, we open the file. We're gonna look for two particular lines here that are usually commented, and we're gonna uncomment them. Let me find them. Sorry, overlooked them. Here we go. Hidden service directory. So we're just gonna remove those by using the X. And then the hidden service port with 80. We're gonna use 80 for the purpose of showing this and how it works, right? Hidden service directory, hidden service port. These are the two only ones that you need to uncomment. Then you can save the file. And now that we have modified the file, we are just gonna restart Tor service, which we do by saying sudo again, and then service Tor restart. And then we'll check if it's running fine, which we do by saying sudo service Tor status. If you see active and exited, that's fine. This is what you should see when you check it. That means everything is running fine. So next, basically now what we have is we already have an address for our hidden service, and we can verify that address, which we will need later, by just doing a sudo again, and then cat/var lib tor hidden underscore service and slash hostname. There you go. That's it. That's your .onion address. You have one now. You're gonna need that later on. So we will go here and save that in a notepad for later. So now that we have more or less a Tor hidden service running on our machine, on our virtual machine in this case, now there's nothing to see at this point in time. So that's where we will now start to install a few additional packages on this Linux machine, namely a LAMP setup, Apache 2, then MySQL and PHP. And after that, we're gonna set up a PHP PB, which is a very well-known common and very long-standing free PHP and MySQL-based message board or forum. So to start with this, we're gonna first install a few packages that are required. The first one we're gonna do is sudo apt update, just to make sure all the sources, everything is updated. Then once this is done or good, then we're gonna do a sudo apt install and mysql-server, which will take a couple of seconds as well. And once this is done, we're gonna install a couple of other packages like PHP and other things that we will need for the setup. This should be done in a couple of seconds now, bear with me. There we go. And this is it. Now we're gonna install quite a few packages, so I'll put them later in the description. And I'll make also a write-up for all the steps that we will be doing for easier checking later for you guys. So basically this installs a couple of libraries that are required. It installs PHP, the required version, and all the needed additional libraries. So we're gonna again hit enter on this one and we say yes, and this again will run for a little while. So while this is running, we're just gonna have a little coffee here, and then we'll come back once this is done. Okay, so this is done. Now, next step would be we're gonna set up the database that we will be using later. For this, we're gonna run a command sudo again MySQL -u for the user root -p, and we connect. We're gonna use the password. Then we are connected to the MySQL database. Now, first we're gonna create a database for the installation of PHP PP later. So we're gonna say create database, and we're gonna call it PHP PP underscore database, and that's it. Semicolon. We're gonna execute. That's fine. Next step would be we have to actually create the user. So we're gonna create a user identified by so We call the user, we're gonna call it, let's call it PHP, pp underscore user, and add localhost, so at the local machine. And then we're gonna say identified by, and now we're gonna set the password. We set the password to something very simple. Here, please do not do this in a production server. Never, ever. But for the purpose of making it simple and easy to follow, we can do this. Also, usually would run a MySQL security hardening script before you do this. But again, I would like to use a simple password just here for purpose of showing you guys. So I did not do that. But for production databases, always do that. It's very important, right? So basically that's it. We hit enter, query OK, that's done. Next step would be we grant the necessary access rights, which will be just simply by grant all permissions on PHP bb underscore db, which was the database that how we named it, right? And dot star, meaning all tables, everything. And then we can copy and paste this from above. I don't know, let's just do it here. From here. Yep. And that's pretty much it. And then there's the semicolon that I forgot, which we need. Query OK, done. Now we flush the privileges. The semicolon, which tells it to execute, and that's it. And then we say exit, and we're done with creating the database. So this is all there is to it for the database side. Next step would be now we're gonna download the packages for the zip file for PHP pp. The current one is .3.3.5, I'm not mistaken, right? So we're gonna do this by first. We're gonna go to /opt. We're gonna do a sudo again, and we say wget -c, and we're gonna paste what I have already. 335 is the latest one. It will download the file. It should be fairly fast. There you go. And after that, we're gonna say again sudo unzip php zip. It will unzip the file, and now we're gonna move this by using sudo move php pp3, right, to /var/www/html, and we call this directory php pp. Bam, done. Now we're gonna set the right permissions on those directories. So we're gonna say sudo again. Sudo is it's the magic word for Linux. John -r, and then www data is the user, and the group is also www data on var html php, and then we're gonna do a sudo, and we're changing the permissions now. To 755 of var www.html and php, and that's again it for now. So now next is we configure the virtual host in Apache. So we have chosen to use Apache. Of course, you could use any other web server as well. You could use Nginx or whatever you prefer, but I used Apache for the purpose of this video. So we're gonna again do sudo vi, and we're gonna create the following file: etc apache2 sites available, which contains all the different configurations for available sites that you can turn on in your Apache, and then we call it php pp.conf. It's empty. We create the file, we insert a pre-prepared one, and the only thing we're gonna change here, probably you can for the purpose of this, I'm not gonna change the server admin, but you would change that normally. This is correct already. And here we're gonna enter the server's FQDN, which we're gonna use what we have copied earlier, the onion URL. So this is gonna be our server name. Then we're gonna save this configuration, and that's basically it. All we need to do now is switch the configuration as active, PHP, PP. Apache 2 enable site is the command, by the way, right? So if in case you're wondering, so now we're gonna run sudo a2. We're gonna enable the rewrite module, a2 enable mod, rewrite, done. And then the final thing we're gonna do is for the changes to take effect, right? We're gonna just simply restart the Apache. So this is again a sudo and then systemctl and then restart Apache 2. Done. That's it. And therefore, technically, we are now online on the dark web with the Onion site, and we have configured everything on the server side. Now the next step of the installation will be done via the URL. So obviously, since this is an Onion site, a regular browser, you won't be able to access it. So what we need is a Tor, either the Tor browser, or in my case, I prefer to use the Brave browser, which is this one that is open right here. And with this one, we can just simply say new private window with Tor, and there we go. And from here, we're gonna again copy our onion address, right? Gonna put this in the browser bar. So now this can take a little while, obviously, while it routes through all the different relays. And there we go. You can already see it's redirecting us as expected. So this is now redirecting us to the install portion of the PHP on our virtual machine, on the dark web, but on our virtual machine that we just set up on our own home lab or wherever you have set it up on your Raspberry Pi or your even Azure, Google Cloud, Linode, whatever you choose to use for this, right? So therefore we just go to the install tab here and then we just click install. It will then ask us a certain parameters. So don't use admin in your real environment, obviously use something more creative, but for this one, so we call this admin at test.com. It does not really matter in this case, right? And then the administrator password. Obviously, you would want to make this a complicated one, usually. Installation data. Okay, so we have chosen the database to be running on localhost. So then port, we can leave that out. The database username is what we chose earlier. If you remember, we chose PHP BD underscore, was it DB user, right? PHP underscore, wait, I need to check my records now. I forgot what I used. I'm sorry for this. Yeah, underscore user. Then the database password was, the database password was what we said we should not normally use. The database name was PHP pp underscore db. And the prefix, we just leave it as it is. Just gonna click next here. Cookie secure, we just leave this all as it is for the purpose of documentation, right? There's not really much to change here. And then same here, we don't use SMTP. You could configure here your SMTP server address, port, authentication method, username, password. If you want to set up a port to email you, stuff like that. Again, I leave this to you if you want to set this up. And here we go to the next step, which is be title of the board. We just said my hidden service, my hidden service, and then we go to submit, and this is gonna install. This is not taking too long. You can see that's going quite quickly, and this is done. So now basically that's it, installed. So the install is finished successfully. Take me to the ACP, the admin control panel of the message board, right? Which is what we will do here. Go here, next step. It will open your, and now you see you're here on your admin control panel, right? The board itself, however, if we go back here, sorry, did I copy here? Uh, will not be accessible until such time that you delete or rename the install directory, right? That's a more or less a security precaution. So as you can see, please delete, move, rename, or install the directory. So that's what we're gonna do. Gonna go back here. We're gonna say www html and php bb, and here you will see the install directory. We're just gonna remove this again. We're gonna use sudo for this, sudo rm -rf install, sorry, and that's it. And now if you refresh this here, it will bring you to your default. There's a standard post, something like that. That's it. Basically, that's how easy it is to set up a hidden service, an onion address, a message board powered by MySQL, PHP, and PHP and you can go ahead and start doing your completely or more or less private message board on the so-called dark web, or I prefer to refer to it as in the a hidden service, right? Again, and I'm gonna show you now a couple of well-known websites that also have a presence on the hidden services part of the net, right? So let me just pull them out real quick. So, for example, the BBC, you could find the BBC on the as a hidden service address here. And the reason why BBC decided to do this is just simply to make it available to readers who may live in countries where actual BBC sites are censored or even entirely blocked. It might be countries like North Korea, Iran, China, and such. So, as you can see, that that pretty much sums it up, right? As you have seen, it's very simple to maintain, to start up a service, a hidden service website, a hidden service forum, or the likes. Not all content on the so-called dark web is really bad or illegal. There's lots of legitimate use of the dark web, and don't mistake it with being completely exclusively for criminals and illegally using users. So that's definitely not the case. With this, I hope you have learned something today and enjoy this video. Take care and have a good one.